Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking on one of the absolutely most anxiety-inducing job interview questions out there. Seriously, if you've ever felt that cold sweat when an interviewer suddenly shifts gears to test your out-of-the-box thinking, you are in the exact right place. We're going to decode exactly what they're looking for and give you the ultimate framework to ace it.
Okay, let's dive straight into our agenda. We're going to cover the creativity question panic, why HR actually asks this, the STAR method formula, a few real-world career examples, and wrap up with interview do's and don'ts. This structured roadmap is going to turn that interview panic into pure, undeniable confidence.
Section 1. The creativity question panic.
We have all been there, right? You're sitting across the desk or maybe staring into a webcam, and the interview is going flawlessly. You nailed the weakness question. You completely crushed the 5-year plan. You're feeling good. And then, the HR manager leans forward with this warm, expectant smile and drops the prompt. So, can you give me an example of your creativity? And boom. In a split second, your mind goes completely, utterly blank.
Your internal monologue just starts screaming, "Am I creative? I use Excel spreadsheets, not paintbrushes." You're literally sitting there wondering if reorganizing your desk on a Friday afternoon somehow counts. Well, take a deep breath. I promise you, you are creative. The key thing to remember here is that HR is not looking for the next Picasso. Workplace creativity is a whole different ballgame.
Which brings us to Section 2, why HR actually asks.
We've got to dispel this myth that creativity is only for artists, designers, or marketing teams. In today's fast-paced landscape, every single role, whether you're an accountant, a software engineer, or a customer service rep, needs innovation. When HR drops this question, they're secretly testing 3 hidden traits. First, problem-solving skills. Can you think on your feet when the standard playbook completely fails? Second, resourcefulness. How do you handle tight deadlines, roadblocks, or zero budget? And third, value creation. Does your brand of creativity actually save the company time or make them money?
So, Section 3, the STAR method formula. This is your tactical weapon. It's the golden formula for answering behavioral questions without ever rambling or losing your train of thought.
The framework breaks down into 4 really simple steps. First, situation, where you briefly set the scene and context. Second, task, which is your specific goal. Third, action, the actual creative steps you took to solve the problem. And let me emphasize, the action part, that is the absolute meat of your answer. That's where you shine. And finally, result, the measurable outcome. The golden rule here is that your result should always use numbers, metrics, or concrete positive feedback.
Let's move to Section 4, real-world career examples. We're going to do a rapid-fire run through 4 totally different industries to prove this framework works anywhere.
Starting with admin and ops. The situation? Internal communications were failing because absolutely no one was reading this dense 50-page PDF manual for a new software system. The task was to get the team on board in 2 weeks without adding more mandatory meetings. So, the action. Our candidate ingeniously replaced that giant manual with bite-sized 60-second TikTok-style tutorials and paired it with a virtual scavenger hunt for small prizes like coffee gift cards.
The result was huge. In just 1 week, the software adoption rate skyrocketed from a dismal 20 to a massive 95. Plus, it saved about 10 hours a week in miscommunication, and company leadership actually adopted that short video format for their own future announcements. That is undeniable value creation.
Next up, customer service. Extremely high stakes here. The situation? Severe weather caused major shipping delays right before the holidays, and a furious, high-value VIP client was threatening to cancel their contract because their corporate gifts wouldn't arrive in time for their party. The action? Knowing a standard "we're sorry" wouldn't cut it, the candidate partnered with a local bakery to send digital golden tickets for gourmet treat deliveries arriving the following week. Then, they hosted a surprise virtual unboxing and trivia game during the client's party slot to keep the energy up.
And the result of that quick pivot? The client was so impressed, they not only kept the contract, they renewed early for the following year and gave the company a glowing shout-out on LinkedIn. They totally turned a negative situation into measurable business loyalty.
Example 3. Let's look at tech and analytics. The situation. A startup data analyst's marketing team desperately needed deep consumer insights, but they absolutely couldn't afford the $10,000 industry report. The task. Get reliable data for $0. The action? The analysts tapped into their small but highly engaged social media following. They built a gamified, interactive quiz called What's Your Buying Superpower, offered a small discount code for finishing it, and built a back-end dashboard to segment all that data.
The outcome was staggering, 3,500. The quiz went viral in their niche, generating 3,500 responses in just 48 hours. They got the exact insights the marketing team needed and solved a massive problem on an absolute shoestring budget.
And here is a brilliant bonus result. That creative data collection method actually drove a 15% increase in immediate sales, thanks to those discount codes at the end of the quiz.
Finally, marketing. The situation. Trying to promote a notoriously dry B2B cybersecurity webinar. Standard registration ads were completely failing. The task was to revamp the strategy and hit at least 500 registrations. The action? The candidate leaned heavily into humor and suspense. They retitled the whole thing, Your Company is Getting Hacked Right Now, a True Crime Special. They built a landing page that looked like a crime thriller dossier and ran these intense simulated interrogation teaser ads.
They completely shattered their target. They aimed for 500 and hit 1,200 registrations. Plus, it resulted in the highest Q&A engagement the company had ever recorded for a webinar.
Okay, now that we've seen this in action, let's transition to Section 5, Interview Do's and Don'ts. Just a quick checklist before we wrap up.
When delivering your answer, do walk them through your thought process. Did you brainstorm with a team? Did you test a prototype? Let them see how your mind works, and always tie it back to the specific job you're interviewing for. Conversely, don't use generic cliches. Please don't say, I doodle during meetings, or I color code my closet. They want to see how your brain tackles real professional problems, not your quirky personal habits.
And timing is absolutely crucial. 60 to 90 seconds. When you tell your star story, you've got to keep it concise. Do not ramble. Aim for a punchy response that takes exactly 60 to 90 seconds to deliver.
To summarize everything today, keep this in mind. They don't want a magic trick, they want problem solving. When you identify a challenge, apply a little innovation, and deliver measurable results, you're proving that you don't just follow instructions. You're proving you add value, push boundaries, and make the company better.
Which leaves us with one final, critical question for you today. What is your best star story ready for your next interview? Take everything we've talked about in this explainer. Go update those prep notes, map out your own situation, task, action, and result, and step into that next interview knowing exactly how to prove your unique professional creativity.